everybody doing? The food is good? Are you happy we're finally eating? I can feel you. No, I can feel you. I'm like going through everything, and then, you have to use the bathroom, and then there's a long line in the bathroom, then there's a long line for food. I can feel you. But this is just a conversation. Just think of it as like we're on TV. We're having a little conversation. We're The View. We're the women of The View. So you just sit back and watch. I don't like them. You don't like them? I actually don't either. But if you guys have questions also, don't hesitate to raise your hand, and I believe somebody can get to you for the questions. But this is just us having a little chat, just getting to know each other. And since you guys are the newest ones, you just got here, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Hello. I'm Imay Villa. I came from Cebu. I'm the country head of Innodata in the Philippines. I'm not really sure if everyone is familiar about Innodata. So we have been in the industry, in the business, BPO business, and technology for more than 30 years already. And well, in fact, we are one of the pioneers in Cebu. That's 30 years ago.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Gentry. I'm co-founder of Sprout Solutions. I wear a number of hats, but let me start off with I'm co-founder of Sprout Solutions. We are the country's leading HR tech platform. So if you are bringing sexy back to agriculture, I've been trying to bring sexy back to HR and tech. I also am co-founder of Pure Culture, which is a direct-to-consumer clean beauty brand. I am also venture partner of Integra Partners for the Philippines. This is a Singapore-based venture capital investing in early to Series A startups. And I am very, very, very proud to be an angel investor for female-led startups in the Philippines.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And we actually use Sprout. PSG Global Solutions actually used Sprout. Yay! I think we might have been one of your first clients. Early clients and early adopters.
Saw your company grow like crazy.
You. I know, right? And when it grows, you guys grow too. So that's definitely a benefit. And if I could just take a moment, Glory, I don't know where my phone is. It's there. Okay, just wanted to make sure because I thought I left it with the temporado. Okay. There is temporado. Do you want temporado? I know, me too, but I was trying to be really careful because, might get on the dress. But yeah, so we were early adopters and we were so excited to continue to be so. And thank you so much for giving us the preferential rates. We like that too. Thank you.
Love it, Mike.
But tell us a little bit about the journey. You talked about being an angel investor for female entrepreneurs. Tell us how that turned out, or like, why did you think of doing this?
Okay, let's zero in on that. So I've been a founder for 10 years now. Sprouts is on its 10th year. Somewhere along the way, the chaos of running a venture-backed tech company really kind of got into me. That's why I decided to start another brand, which is a clean beauty brand. And then what I really found out is that a lot of female founders in the Philippines need support, not just financially, but also just real, actual support around something as simple as, should I even start? And I think that's where a lot of female founders kind of trip up. Yeah. We see that male founders are just a little bit more aggressive and more risk, I would say risk tolerant than female founders. And so, female founders, they just need a little bit more help. So I decided that I really wanted to be in that early stage of a company, like pre-idea, even pre-decision, even, to really give that support to female founders. So I spend a lot of my time talking to would-be female founders who are just starting out, and I learn so much from them, and hopefully they learn from me.
Yeah. And I saw this also with a TED Talk that girls are taught to be perfect, and boys are taught to be brave. And so it eventually goes back into business. But you also, Cherry, you started up too. Did you have the same fears?
Of course, I
I basically thrive. But before thriving, I needed to survive a male-dominated industry. Agriculture is such a male-dominated industry. I remember I was 15. I entered a room. It's a conference of agribusiness. It's in Bacolod. And then I couldn't enter. They're not allowing me to enter because these are all old men, hacienderos, and people controlling the food industry in the Philippines. So what I needed to do, I needed to go to the parking area, wait for an older man who needs help. And I said, maybe this Don needs me, inside. So I would go on and ask, can you please tell the registration that I'm like your apo or assistant to carry your medicine box so that I can enter? And then when I enter, I need to bring them water, bring them coffee, because of course you feel like you don't belong. But in that aspect, I was flipping acetate. That time it was acetate, it's not PowerPoint and whatever. But I learned so much about agribusiness in the Philippines that at some point, one of the persons there who were a previous chair and became a secretary of agriculture talked to me during a World Bank event when I was, every year I review the World Bank economics for Philippine agriculture. And then he said, oh my gosh, you're the 15-year-old girl who is serving coffee and flipping acetate. I said, yes, I was. And now, I'm reviewing the industry. So it was not easy.
Definitely. And journeys like that are never really easy. But Jemima, you said that you have been with Innodata for 2 decades. Were you doing anything before that?
Yeah, actually, before I transitioned myself to operations, I was an HR practitioner. And can you imagine being an HR and you will transition yourself into business, into operations? And there were a lot of challenges. Well, in fact, at the time, it was very, I guess, difficult when you are facing mostly male people leaders. And of course, they have to really, size you up. Coming from a support or coming from an HR, how can this person, manage the business, taking the lead and, continue or growing the business. But I guess how I actually overcome the challenge was my boss was very supportive. He was one of my mentors, and during the transition, he was there, and he actually guided me to really immerse in the business. And I seek out for mentors, not only internally, but also externally as well. And I always have them feel that I'm their ally. We can work together, we can collaborate, and we can be one team regardless of what gender.
Right. Exactly. And Cynthia, you've supported athletes. Male, female, both at the same time. Do you notice a difference when it comes to their, I guess, mental resilience?
Yeah, there's a big difference. And right now in the United States, remember, they're allowing men to be in the female, and I don't believe in that. I mean, I pity the female who's trying so hard and a male comes who gets stronger. That's not correct. I'm glad they're stopping it in the United States because the Philippines will never allow that. We're very much into the male and the female. And even in the difference between the male and the female, like in my gymnastics, for the male we have 6 apparatus, for the female we have 4. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit less. But it's also very difficult because the balance, what the woman is more, and then more artistic, the women, the men just,
They'll just go, they just flip. Yeah. They just go flip. They just flip. They don't care what's going on.
The women, you have to be artistic with the music.
Right, right. And so it's almost the same in terms of just their mental resilience and their drive. Is there any difference that you have found when working with male and female athletes?
No, in the beginning, because I've been there for years, in the beginning there was a big difference. But now I am trying to tell them not to be the same. Because the women are becoming, just as good and just as committed. Before, they were always in the background, and especially in the board I said, you need to be in the boardrooms as well and be leaders, be coaches. If you cannot be an athlete anymore, be a coach, be something. And it's becoming that way. I want the women to be active.
Yes, you definitely want to be able to push them even more. And when I was looking out while you were doing you're telling your story, and it was very inspiring. It's very touching as well. I was looking around the room, and I actually noticed somebody crying. There was somebody. She was sitting there, and she was just quietly crying, but she was listening to you. I won't put her on the spot, but she's wearing pink. But she was very, very touched by your story. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you would inspire others, not just from the work that you're doing, but just, how would you be able to mentor other women to continue to be like you?
I actually keep mentoring a lot of young people, but it's always something that you need to know what you want to begin with, because sometimes it's so hard to mentor people that they don't know what they want. And I'm not a trained clinical psychologist, at the same time, really a coach. But I feel like every time there are some young women, they want to be trained to be an entrepreneur, or they want to be in the nonprofit industry, I would always ask them, can you please just, volunteer in my company or in my foundation, or be an intern in the company, so that you see it, you're immersed, you see how we work. Because it's nice, to be immersed in the culture. And at the same time, I'm such a, you know what I mean? I'm a very strict boss, but I'm very kind at the same time. Because for me, I think my training, I come from agriculture. It's not easy, right? In January, I was in Cagayan, in Apari in Cagayan, and 2 weeks ago I was in Batanes. These are very far-flung places in the Philippines, and we're doing like needs assessment of farmers, and I work with 30 young people because they want to be mentored by me, and I said, can you volunteer in Cagayan? You're there already in Cagayan. So we all met in Apari, we went to Lalo. It's like these places that I don't know if some of you would even hear and would go. And we did needs assessment of 1,000 farmers, and they were all shocked. 30 of them were shocked that more than 100 farmers, they don't even know how to read and write. They gave them a survey paper and a pen. They're so afraid they want to get out from the room. So, these are the things that I was always telling people, that sometimes we romanticize the idea. What you can see in my achievement now, we feel like it's easy, but the path and the work that has been put is not easy.
Yep.
And another one, a while ago, it was mentioned there's not much investment on women in the industry, and more so in agriculture. Right. If your country is hit with 20 to 21 typhoons in a year, and we are the #1 climate risk country in the world by World Climate Index, top-notcher for the last 3 years, who will invest? Right? And I'm in that industry. So I always feel that, that grit and tenacity is always very present. Every time I mentor, I always ask, pulsohan kita, how's your grit and tenacity? Because I don't want to also waste time.
Yeah.
And it's just it. And if you want, you can immerse and you learn from the experience.
And for tech industries also, she's from agriculture, yours is in tech. And what I've noticed, especially when I've been talking about the Victoria Heartstrong organization, there are a lot of tech companies that will come and say, hey, we want to offer an internship, or we want to offer this. How important now is STEM in the Philippines, especially for young people?
Very important. I mean, with AI being what it is, and I live and breathe AI these days because I'm in tech, and that's the prerogative right now. But very, very soon, like what somebody mentioned earlier, we all need to be interacting with AI eventually. So I think that there is still a big gap, definitely, in terms of what the educational system is able to offer in terms of our students, and versus what is required when they are actually there and working, right? I know that there are a number of organizations that are trying to bridge that gap, but I think companies, startups, and companies like PSG, right, need to take it upon themselves to bridge that gap. So your first year outside of university and in the workplace is really around training and getting up to speed. Something that I wanted to also talk about a little bit around mentoring, I think for most especially the women here, right? We need to be cognizant as to who our mentors are. So I'm mentored by so many people in the tech scene in Silicon Valley. Sprout was in an accelerator in Silicon Valley for 4 years, and so I had a very direct program around female founders and how to raise as a female founder. And I hated every bit of it because they were teaching us how to do the power play, where to sit in the room, how to act like a man so you get investment. And it just went against the grain as to everything that I believed in. And so I actually was telling my husband, who was my co-founder at that time, if this is what it takes, I don't want to do it. I definitely don't want to do it. And so I'm super cognizant about that with the female founders that I mentor, just because we don't need to act like men. We are different from men, and I've I've gotten into a lot of very uncomfortable situations having said some things, but I definitely believe that we need to lean into our feminine side, right? And we have strengths around that. And I think that, as what you mentioned earlier around kind of all these blurred lines, more and more we will find our strength in leaning in than trying to change it.
I have a question. They said with the AI, the BPOs will be disappearing because of AI. Is that true?
This would be a good question for
We
you,
need
but
questions from you also.
yeah, for me,
Questions.
I definitely believe that this is not the case. We are not even seeing any kind of decline in number of hires in BPO. It may be that it is sustaining, not maybe growing as fast as it has in the past, but the one thing is for sure, jobs will change. Yes. Whatever it is that the people are doing right now will change because, I mean, if they're adopting, right. And this is the question for all of humanity. How will we learn to adopt with what is in front of us? And it is really like, how are you going to train for the Olympics if you don't know the sport that you are going to compete in? Yeah. And so it's our ability to be flexible. It's our ability to be able to learn, period, regardless of what it is, I think.
And I agree, coming from the BPO industry as well, that it's not going to completely eliminate, but it definitely will change. Yes. It will change, and hopefully what it's supposed to do, and what we've always said it's supposed to do, it's supposed to support the agents, or it's supposed to support the workers to be better. What it will do is eliminate the menial, kind of the more menial, repetitive tasks that can be done by an AI. And what the hope is that the agents or whoever is speaking to the customers are having more valuable conversations, or having more interactions and connections, real genuine connections, rather than transactional ones, which they had traditionally been doing. So that's the hope, and I think it's our responsibility as being part of the BPO is to be able to push that as well with our customers and with anybody that's answering that call or responding to that, is that the goal is to have real genuine connections and allow the AI to be able to do all of the menial tasks as well.
Can I add to that? Well, in fact, AI will not replace jobs. Well, in fact, we are generating jobs, but with different skill sets. That's why I totally agree that we need to adopt as quickly as we can, be relevant, and embrace the change, embrace technology.
Yeah. How is it affecting, though, the sports?
Yes,
sports sector?
somebody approached me from Marvel Comics, Marvel and Pixar. They want us to be part of Marvel, because do you know that most of the people that do the comics are all Filipinos? Yes. They're all creative. They're very creative. We're going to have movies like Moana, all these beautiful movies. which they're creating in the Philippines now. Instead of that Korean and the Japanese, we'll have Philippine brand as well. We're going to put a Philippine brand in sports for comics with Carlos Yulo and me there.
Yes, for sure. And so let's dive into a little bit more about how the Filipino women can shine a little bit more globally, not just here in the Philippines, because there's a big push, and I think globally women feel very similarly around the struggles that they've had. Now, being Asian, being Filipino, and trying to get into the global spotlight. In any industry, whether it's agriculture, it's tech, it's in sports, it's going to be also, hello, it's going to be a little,
Question. They need the other.
I'm not sure.
I think they want to ask questions.
Oh, you have a question. I'm sorry. Yes. Then I'll hold my question. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for the great insights that we have learned so far. But my friend here from Figari and myself have a question.
Sure.
So there is a misconception that for successful women, they don't have love life. So the question is, what's your best advice for everyone in the room and for all other women, how to make a balance among career, love, and life in general?
That's
Correct.
a really good question. I will let somebody else answer that
Very good question.
because I don't fall into that.
Do you know when I was
category. I'm sorry.
undersecretary of the tourism, my husband will call my secretary to make appointment for me. You imagine? But there's still time. Time management.
Work-life balance is an ongoing thing. So for me, you always have to, find time for yourself. And self-care is very important as well. So I know it's easier said than done, but I guess I agree. It's time management, and it's how you really work on balancing between work and your personal life.
So I'll follow up with that. So I'm a big believer in work-life harmony. It's maybe a little bit looking at work-life balance from a little bit of a different lens. For a long time, it was work-life balance versus work-life integration. And then work-life harmony and Sprout were such big advocates of this because in work-life balance, it makes you feel like if you're choosing work, then you're then neglecting life. Or if you're with your family, then you're neglecting work. Work-life harmony just makes it so that you can bring your whole self to work. So we always say this in Sprout, bring your whole self to work. And that means that if I just broke up with my boyfriend and I'm a little bit like heartbroken in front of you during our meeting, then that should be okay. And that means that, if I'm juggling bringing my kids to work and therefore I need to move this meeting to a later time, then that should be okay. And so I think that more and more, most especially as technology improves, right, the way that we work has really changed. I mean, we are now working while we're showering because we're thinking up of things all the time. There
I enjoy my shower.
there is that freedom, right, to be able to be your whole self. Because that then benefits your career as well.
I'll have her answer also.
Oh, thank you. But I noticed all my ex-boyfriends and my boyfriend are foreigners. For a Filipina, I don't know, I'm becoming vulnerable. I'm really having a hard time finding a Filipino boyfriend. Yeah, or a partner. I don't know why. Because a lot of them becoming very insecure so fast. But with my, my boyfriend is always very supportive, very open-minded, and he would always tell me, you need to do what you want to do, and I will do what I want to do, and we're together, we're together. So when we're
Correct.
together, no phones, we just enjoy our lunch, we enjoy our dinner, we enjoy our travels. You really need to do that, and you need to also a little bit set boundaries. And since we run companies, I always inform my team. By the way, with my partner for this, and I don't want you to disturb me for this vacation. And you need to create that culture in your company, because if you own the company, you can actually start a good culture. And then in my company, we also have a heartbreak leave. We added, our HR added it. Yeah. So we have a heartbreak leave because they said, oh, it's so, everything is so fast, and we are hiring millennials and zillennials, and they're always like, oh, but when they're brokenhearted, you cannot talk to them in the office. It's like, oh, wow, this is danger zone. So our HR said, we'll have a heartache leave, and sometimes they call it chasing sunset leave. So we become very innovative also, and our HR is adjusting to it. As long as it's acceptable for you to recover, why not?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
I'm Carrion. My husband is Jerry Rollin from England. And they call him, good afternoon, Mr. Carrion.
As
he
they
accepts
should.
it. He doesn't care.
As they should. They should. All right. So some key takeaways. Heartbreak leave. Y'all write that down. Write that down. Bring it back to your HR people.
I
And
think she wants to ask a question. Shirley, you want to ask a question?
yes. Yes, please add.
Yes. Let them ask the question.
Here first and I'll go there after.
Hi.
And I'll go there after.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aubrey Bartolome. I'm so inspired today with lots of women that I can say that are very successful. The reason why I'm speaking to you right now, because I want to ask or seek for an advice. I used to be a teacher, then international property specialist, then I used to be a CEO, then went to zero, then I'm now claiming to from zero back to be a CEO. And thank you for this wonderful forum. Okay, here's my question. What advice can you give to a woman who has built her strength as armor? An alpha, resilient and often seen as intimidating, and to allow herself to be vulnerable without feeling exposed or powerless. In a world that equates dominance, leadership, how does she navigate the balance between being an unstoppable force and embracing the depth of her emotions? What does it mean to be both powerful and open to lead with both wisdom and heart, and to transform intimidation to inspiration? As she rises exponentially, how can she redefine success beyond survival toward true impact, legacy, and personal fulfillment? Actually, this is my personal experience.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. What I gathered from that is, how can you show your strength, but at the same time still be vulnerable, and still be a woman? So I think that there is some kind of difference in understanding of, be powerful, but you're a woman, and, how can you still balance both, especially in the workplace?
Okay, I can say that, as a woman, we have to believe in our uniqueness. And we can build that as our strength. It's okay to ask help sometimes because we need a break. But as a woman as well, and as a leader, I always share with my fellow women leaders as well that, continuous learning and continuous improvement, as well as seeking out mentors, for me is very, very important, especially when you are leading people, especially when you are running the business. And there are times that, you feel exhausted and you feel vulnerable. That's why I said it's okay to ask help and take a break.
Yep. Call upon your tribe. Call upon your tribe. Show up for your tribe. And I want to go back to a little bit about the heartbreak leave. It's also called the mental wellness
You really
leave.
like
I know.
that.
I do. I think we should. Anyway, but I wanted to bring that back to wellness because one of the questions that you asked was, what do you do for wellness? And there's a lot of people who do nothing. I mean, and they think that Netflix is wellness. And what would your advice be to those who do not have a wellness plan today and they've never had one? So people can't go straight into a marathon, right? So what would be your advice to somebody starting out in terms of their wellness journey? Because being well is going to help them in other areas, right?
Okay, first of all, I want you all to stand up. You've been sitting down a lot. Stand up. Okay, put your hands this way.
Right, and then, okay. Okay.
Every morning you have to stretch. We're getting small, older. You need to have your flexibility, your strength, and your balance. You've got to balance. You have to balance. Okay? And now, just march. Every morning, just do 15 minutes of marching, stretching, and that's that. You start that way, you know? And then little by little, you'll get stronger and stronger, and you yourself would want to be more. You'll get weights already. Do you know that if you don't have muscle, you will get fatter? It's the muscle that burns your calories. It's the muscle that anything you eat, if you don't have muscle, turns into fat. So you've got to have muscle to speed up your metabolism. Do you hear me? So have some muscle. If you don't do anything, you will not have any muscle. Okay?
So it's just get up and move. Get up and move. Do something. Get up and move and do something. Okay. How much time do we have? Because I have a lot of questions, but I don't want to go. Okay, another question. Sorry.
Actually, it's not a question because all the talks inspires a lot. Siguro kayong lahat will conform with me, di ba? You know, when you hear like Cherry talk about a life, parang mahirap na buhay, di ba? Parang ang hirap ko sabihin eh. If you grow a little, parang mas magandang buhay mo. But there's no difference. This is not a question, but this is an addition because I'd like to talk also pa. Para wala naman akong chance mag-talk, wala mo nag-invite. Okay. Anyway, I'm no. I'm Philippine ambassador, assigned, political appointee, assigned to two hardship posts. Papua New Guinea, during GME time, President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. She saw in me, she saw her in me siguro, kaya ina-appoint ako. I was vice mayor then in a PIP class municipality in the province of Northern Samar. My mother from Northern Samar, my father from Cebu, my grandmother on my father's side is from Iloilo. I can speak all those dialects fluent. My lolo from my mother is from Leyte. So I have Eastern, Western, and Central Visayas. Pwede na ako mag-senador. Okay. So I am the first woman who won in that municipality of San Isidro, Northern Samar. Woman, ha? Tandaan nyo. Ang hirap mangampanya. Hindi ka kilala because I grew up in Manila. I fell in love at 18. My first boyfriend. Married 18. Mother at 19. Second year college and going third year college. But I have my dreams. Naku, mahirap tong istorya. Okay.
Okay, you just ask
How
a
many
question.
minutes? Okay. My question is, because always the question comes like, how did you juggle, become an entrepreneur? I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm public servant. An entrepreneur, become a mother. Good that those don't have children. It's okay. Become a mother, a wife, a sister, a daughter, a granddaughter. How can we do that? So some of them answer some question, but they forget about how we women do it in one. Parang sa Wonder Woman ka, like Cynthia. Okay. Cynthia is my guru in aero. I'm 63 pala. I have 3 grandchildren. The oldest is gagraduate na ng college. They grow with me, they called me mommy. Because they don't want to call daw lola because I'm not white hair. So nag-white hair na ako. Anyway, those questions that has been asked has not been answered fully. If you kung nakikita nyo ang sagot. The sagot is more on the person itself, but not the titles that she has. So, my question would be, you are all successful in your own endeavors. You explain a lot about AI. I'm little, hindi ako tech na tao eh. Hirap pa rin ako sa phone ko. You talk about EQ, AI. Now, how come we come along with all the success that we have in order for us to become leaders and part of our nation building? The nation building is very important as in government. Because if we are successful in our own endeavors, let's take a look at how the contribution got impact in our society and our lives. Nasagot mo na yung isang question ko, nasagot na ni Miss ni Cherry. But yung iba, more on the focus. Yeah, more the focus. The question is, kindly add up the success for our nation building. Kasi ito yung impact na maibitutulong natin as women entrepreneur, not only in ourselves, but to the community itself. Thank you.
Thank you. What was the question?
Nation building. I'll do it
building,
very,
yeah.
very quickly. So I think that it is important to start a venture that is very mission oriented. It's one thing to just solve business problems. It's another thing to nation build, like what you said, right? Something that I have also found that as an entrepreneur with many different roles that I want to fulfill, wife, mother, friend, etc., it has to be a big mission. Otherwise, it's so easy for me to just quit it and say it's not worth my time, right? But like in Sprout, our mission is to impact the life of every Filipino by improving business in the Philippines. Before that, we were just solving a problem. Once we had our North Star, we were in it. We were in it. And so I think that's super important.
And I think that is true for anybody who is really successful, because you can define success by how far up you go up the ladder, how much money you make. But is that really success? Sometimes you define success by how much impact are you making on other people's lives. And I think that is probably a better measurement of success than money or the titles that you may have. And if you have a very purpose-driven mission for your company, for yourself within somebody else's company, then you're driving your own success that way. So it's really about how purposeful and how driven you are for a particular mission. And for nation building specifically, I think that that's absolutely true. For PSG, it's also to improve other people's lives by connecting them with great work. For the Victoria Heartstrong organization, obviously it's very focused on young women who will eventually, I hope, as they are walking over there, will become leaders, not just within their community, but I'm hoping one of them will become president. I hope one of them.
Yeah, giving back to the community is very important. If I may share, of course, we advocate women leaders in the organization, and we have 2 beneficiaries actually under our corporate social responsibilities. These are children and women who are abused and who are victims of human trafficking. So it's very hard for them to go back to school. So what we do is we provide them with the access in terms of education by providing, of course, all the tools like computer lab and other training programs that will equip them even if they are in the facility and even if they are deprived by the school. So these are one of the advocacy also as part of our corporate social responsibility and the community of women in Innodata. So we have two beneficiaries right now. So can you imagine the impact, that you're giving to these girls who have been abused and deprived by education?
Yep. And we're running out of time, so I just have one last question, like last words, and I actually want to ask Richard a question. Hi, but I want to ask them if you have any last short words to share with the audience, and then I'm going to ask Richard his question, all right? Any last words, advice for the audience here?
Just start.
Just start.
Just believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself. And my last words will be not as short as yours, but it will be find your tribe, call upon your tribe, and show up for your tribe. All right. Thank you so much, you guys. And the last question, because it's Women's Month, and this is Asia Women's Forum. Richard, here is my question for you, because, you live with one of the most beautiful, strong women of the Philippines. What do you think is the essence of a woman?
Well, something I really respect is, and I'm not just saying this because there's a room full of Filipino women, but Filipino women. Very rare in the world. When I go back to Canada and the US, there's a lot of women who talk about empowerment and so forth, but they do it in such a way that almost they are competing with men or hate men, or exactly what Alex was talking about, all these power manipulations and so forth. But in Philippines, the women do the work and they don't forget that they're women. I don't know, isn't that, because women do have a big advantage, and to try to be a fake man, isn't that the stupidest thing you've ever heard of? Women are wonderful and have such amazing insight that men don't have. So the complementary skills, so I find that, I know this isn't an answer to your question, but no, I don't care, is they collaborate more here. Women really want men to be their partners, not their competitors or something that they hate or have to get rid of or something like that. And it's a real remarkable and special environment that Philippines has, I think. And if you look at, business process outsourcing, or what, Alex has done with her husband and others, I mean, it's really remarkable. So, again, I didn't answer your question, but I still think you don't want to change. You don't want to get to the point where men feel like you hate them or you're committing, because in some countries, this is how men feel. And anyway, so I'm just pleased. I'm talking too much now.
No, you're fine. So what I'm getting from you, Richard, is the essence of a woman is the Filipina.
It is. In this world, I would say, that's a good, Filipina really do sit at the top. And I'm not just saying this because you have both, they work, they obviously take their careers seriously, and they're still, warm and women and emotional, all that good stuff that is so important to families and so forth. So don't ever lose that. Okay, enough.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Richard.